that made me feel one, very unwanted, two, very इनकम्प्लीट. या तो मैं कॉमेडी लिखूं या मैं दीवार पे अपना सर मार लूं. वो दोनों में से एक चीज मैं करता हूं. कई बार दीवार पे सर भी मारता हूं. दुनिया बहुत कंफ्यूजिंग है, बहुत ही कंफ्यूजिंग है, और बहुत ही अनफेयर भी है, बहुत केओटिक है. कोई भी चीज़ हमारे हाथ में नहीं है. वी आर स्टिल, आई मीन, बिग साइंटिस्ट्स आर स्टिल डिबेटिंग वेदर फ्री विल एग्जिस्ट और नॉट. बट आर्ट for a while gives you a sense that you have free will.
What do you think actors should have, according to you?
In real life, if they have lived a life, if they've understood that life, what I wish I knew at that time was not to hide it from myself. So I won't even cry alone in a room, right? Because I kind of wanted to keep it so hidden inside that no one else could see if I can't see. To cut the bullying, I have to kind of bully myself in a way where self-deprecating humor. और जितनी bullying होती थी, उससे भी ज़्यादा मुझे feel होती थी because I was too sensitive at that time.
One of the reviews of All India Rank said that the film in its essence explores that equation where the heart and head fit. Have you found that equation yourself?
कि मैं उस लायक बनूंगा कि सब मुझे बुलाएं और मैं किसी के साथ नहीं जाऊं, and then I walk alone.
So is that why Varun Grover today?
That is part of the reason I feel.
Hello and welcome to The Real Story with Sanghamitra Hiteshi, a podcast that explores the human journey of my guests. A journey of success and failures, of loss and hope, of brokenness and resilience. I'm your host, actor and writer Sanghamitra Hiteshi, and today I'm going to be sitting down with a lovely guest and exploring their real story. My guest today is a multi-hyphenated in the truest sense. A writer, comedian, satirist, lyricist, musician, an actor, and now a director. But you'll come to know that his multifacetedness is not the most interesting thing about him. The most interesting thing about him is that he's a doting father to 3 cats and often regrets not being able to spend more time with them. But the most fascinating thing about him is his ability to hold on to his truth, to accommodate opposing views, to question his own prejudices, and to be funny while doing all of this. Professionally trained as an engineer, an ardent supporter of representation in cinema and comedy, a critical thinker, and my guest today is none other than the very lovely, deeply sensitive, and very funny Varun Grover. The best jokes, he says, take something awful and make it silly. As a stand-up comedian, he has made us think and reflect on the state of affairs in our country. His recent work as a dialogue writer in The Three of Us has received a lot of praise for its evolved, nuanced portrayal of love and friendship. But it's his debut as a director with All India Rank, which premiered at the International Film Festival of Rotterdam last year and released in the theaters and on Netflix this year, that has made him one of the promising directors to look out for. Hindustan Times said this about the film. Varun Grover has created an immensely crowd-pleasing debut with a tender and gigantic heart. The goal is simple. Chase the magical equation where the heart and the head fit somewhere. Until then, explore. With many successful awards and glories in the last decade, he once said that his only success is that he's alive. In an industry that rewards us for being as far away from our authenticity, his writings are personal, his comedy sharp and observational, although I feel there's an element of frustration in there. His politics vocal and his poetry tender and powerful, as he himself once said, that self-censorship is the death of an artist. Today, I sit with him to talk about his real story. Varun Grover, welcome to The Real Story.
मुझे अपना रुमाल निकाल के पसीना पोंछना पड़ेगा because oh god, that was a very I don't know, flattering kind of introduction. इतना मुझे आदत नहीं. I almost felt like कि ये it almost, sorry, but it read like an obit.
Obituary, you mean?
Yeah.
Now you know who you need to book for your...
Send it to all the newspapers saying already ready है. जिस दिन भी जाएगा आप ये छाप सकते हैं because it's, oh god, it's a lot.
Did you like it?
I'm always embarrassed
I thought
when
so.
someone talks about
But that
my
was
work.
also a little bit of the goal to to embarrass you a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Then definitely it worked
No, I
because
hope
yeah,
you
it
liked
is.
it as well. And
No, I
I
liked
mean, I
it.
can see your pink on your
Yeah,
face.
I'm already blushing because yeah, it's a lot, and also because I always feel कि I'm not my work.
Yeah.
The work is there. जो ठीक है, जो जिसका जरिया मैं हूँ या जिसमें बहुत सारे वक्त और खून पसीना जो भी whatever दिया है मैंने, बट स्टिल देयर दैट सेंस कि मैं न सिर्फ उससे ज्यादा हूँ बल्कि उससे अलग हूँ. सिर्फ ये नहीं है कि हाँ, आई एम नॉट द सम ऑफ
Those things.
थिंग्स,
Also,
समथिंग व्हिच.
it's a form of your expression of your
या
own understanding of life and how you process it.
असली मजा वही है कि किस तरह से मैं दुनिया को देखता हूँ. मैं चाहता हूँ कि बाकी लोग जो उस तरह से देखते हैं दुनिया को, उनको लगे कि वो तरीका भी एक तरीका है,
तरीका है,
वो एक
right.
वैलिड तरीका है. और दूसरा ये कि जो नहीं देखते हैं उस तरह से, लेकिन वो शायद देखना चाहते हैं, but they don't know how to express
Express
themselves,
it, yeah.
how to express grief, for example, say in Masan, or how to express frustration with the system.
So
In my
there is
stand-up comedy.
frustration. It's because you
Absolutely.
said that it's observational, but I
Yeah.
have always found a sense of frustration in there.
हाँ हाँ,
I mean, that's where
comedy
it
is
comes from.
absolutely. अगर मैं या तो मैं कॉमेडी लिखूं या मैं दीवार पे अपना सर मार लूं, वो दोनों में से एक चीज मैं करता हूं. तो कई बार दीवार पे सर भी मारता हूं, लेकिन जब मौका मिलता है तो मैं उसको, उस गुस्से को, उस फ्रस्ट्रेशन को, उस सो आई हैव अ सिंपल थंब रूल काइंड ऑफ फॉर कॉमेडी. अगर कोई चीज मैं देखूं और मेरे दिमाग में सबसे पहला थॉट व्हाट द फक आए, so then I know there is a joke there. Either I find that joke or I allow that what the fuck feeling to live in me as some kind of frustration.
I
So it's
remember you had once said this, and I now have a folder in my phone, which is what the fuck, where I write all the stories.
yeah, so
So I was like,
exactly.
this is
Yeah.
such a good idea.
जैसे कि ये बॉम्बे में जो मैंने अपना स्टैंड अप बिट में डाला था कि ये गोखले ब्रिज ये बन रहा था अंधेरी में, और वो मैच नहीं हो रहा है ईस्ट और वेस्ट का कुछ उसका कनेक्शन.
The bridge,
सो
yeah.
इट्स हाँ, इट्स लाइक समथिंग हम लोग हर रोज वो सह रहे हैं, उसका दुख, उसका गुस्सा. तो मुझे लगा उसमें से कुछ जोक ढूंढना पड़ेगा. और समहाउ द इंजीनियर्स हैव आल्सो फिगर्ड आउट दैट इन इंडिया चीज़ों को जोड़ने से ज़्यादा उनको बांटने में ज़्यादा इंसेंटिव मिलता है, इसलिए उन्होंने गैप रखा है. सो दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स देन मेक इट ईजी टू प्रोसेस द वर्ल्ड अराउंड यू. इट्स लाइक जो मिर्जा गालिब का एक शेर है कि बाजी चाहे अतफाल है दुनिया मेरे आगे, द वर्ल्ड इज अ प्ले ग्राउंड ऑफ किड्स. होता है शबो रोज तमाशा मेरे आगे. सो इफ यू हैव दैट सेंस ऑफ डिटैचमेंट विद द वर्ल्ड, but it doesn't come automatic.
But it also sometimes overlaps. It is observational, but it also comes from.
Yeah. A lot of it is anger and or frustration or just a sense of amusement कि ये क्या चल रहा है, मतलब ये कैसे हो सकता है.
Leading from the introduction, my first question to you is, which one do you feel more, successful or alive?
Oh, always alive. Successful is, I think, is a very relative term. And if you go that way, then everyone is successful than someone else. Everyone is less successful than someone else. वो हर एक के साथ है. और जो बहुत परेशान है मान लीजिए, तो भी if they are alive in this world, if they are experiencing this world, they are theoretically at least more successful than those who are not
So
alive.
tell me, how do you experience this work?
एक्सपीरियंशियल काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग. जो एक्सपीरियंस जंकी आजकल जिसको बोल देते हैं कि दुनिया में सब कुछ आपको देखना चाहिए, या देख देख के कम से कम एक जो अगेन देयर इज दैट पोएम बाय रिल्के सेइंग लेट एवरीथिंग हैपन टू यू.
Beauty and terror.
Yeah, beauty and terror. And so basically everything, if you can experience and be detached in some way, where you know it's a fleeting moment. I know it sounds very philosophical, but it is also the truth, because
But a lot of people take detachment to escapism. How do you differentiate into that? Like, okay, like, or numbness, like, like for me, like I came from a place in my 20s. I grew up with a mother who was very spiritual. So then I realized at least this Eastern spirituality talks about this idea of detachment, but most people take it as a form of not confronting what is needed to be confronted and use that as an excuse to not even deal with difficult feelings and emotions.
Yeah. So for me, it is more like in the moment, I'm not detached.
Ah.
In the moment, I'm always trying to be present. Sometimes I'm not. You have to focus in the moment and sometimes focus on the future, which is where all the anxieties come from and all. एंड सो डिटैचमेंट और escapism में थोड़ा तो फर्क है. दूसरा है कि अगेन वी ऑल्सो समटाइम्स डोंट नो वेदर वी आर ट्राइंग टू escape or we are trying to detach.
I mean, I have learned that, and it's difficult, is that pain is an information. Like, what is this trying to tell me? Like, at this moment, what should I be learning from this experience? And if it is something that repeats, then I really need to get some information out of this.
Yeah.
I think that has been quite helpful from unlearning the spiritual idea of detachment in the way it is sold to us. Of course, I understand the philosophical and spiritual idea of detachment, where it is what you said, that be in the moment,
Yeah.
take what you can, and then let it go.
Or whenever you make something into an ism, then it becomes a rigid kind of a structure,
Yeah.
which doesn't allow you to do something else. Then you have to always, it's like you are given a lens and that lens is permanent. Instead of that lens being a fleeting thing or you can keep it in
I
your
think-
pocket, take it out when needed. But then spirituality gives you that thing कि अब हर चीज को इसी तरह से देख. That
I think
becomes
ism, for me, what I understand is you have to fit into a group, and there's a rule to every group dynamics. And if you're in any way an individual, and you're like, okay, but from my lived experience, I'm processing it a little bit differently, then it becomes a problem. I think I have a huge problem with isms.
Yeah. Are you an atheist or?
I am an atheist.
Yeah.
I'm an
So
atheist.
हाँ वही मुझे भी मतलब I don't believe in God or scientifically I know how it works, how evolution happened, how the world was created, so to say. But then subscribing to atheism also is kind of, for me, it's a...
I'm an atheist with a spiritual mindset. Like, I think thousands of years ago, religion was a form of psychology. Then, they started giving it a sense of, again, the way that status quo.
Trying to,
and
and
then
also
fit into a box.
trying to become an Amway scheme.
Yeah,
Where you get more people and then you get more influence, then you get further more people and you get more influence. So yeah, everything becomes a marketplace end of the day.
So I'm going to start from the beginning. So you come from a Punjabi family. Your grandparents came to India during the partition. You were born in Himachal. You grew up in Lucknow and you did your college from Varanasi.
Yeah.
Right? So where is home then? Or what is home?
So there's no home. अब मुझे बॉम्बे में हो जाएंगे 20 साल and Bombay still, Mumbai doesn't feel like home to me. It feels like a कर्म भूमि, so to say. लखनऊ में कुछ साल रहा. लखनऊ अच्छा लगता था, बहुत घर जैसा लगता है. बट अगेन अब वहाँ से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. सो देयर इज नो होम एंड आई फील it's a better kind of a life where you don't have home, because then you are constantly seeking home, which is a good thing for an artist.
But what about that also natural feeling of wanting to belong? If
Yeah,
not in
so
a
you
group,
do belong in multiple things, but you don't
Like-
belong to one particular place or one particular emotion or one particular set of people. So which is what I like.
So where
Because-
do you feel belonged? What do you feel belonged with?
So people are kind of home for me. There are places which are home for me, but they are not like actual cities or maybe a corner of a city. Like बनारस जाऊंगा तो बनारस में ठठेरी बाजार नाम की एक गली है. अब उस गली में एकदम एंड में जाएंगे तो वहाँ 4-5 बहुत बढ़िया मिठाई की दुकानें हैं और बहुत छोटी छोटी दुकानें हैं, एक दो के नाम भी नहीं हैं. वो घर लगता है क्योंकि वहाँ एक अलग दुनिया है, वो दुनिया बहुत सालों से, एंड होपफुली इट विल स्टे दैट वे, दो देयर इज लॉट्स ऑफ रिकंस्ट्रक्शन गोइंग ऑन इन बनारस, बट वो दुनिया लगती है अपनी। या बनारस जाओ, लखनऊ जाओ तो गोल दरवाजे से लेकर अकबरी गेट की जो चौक की एक गली है, अब उसी में वो रहीम की निहारी है, उसी में टुंडे कबाब की ओरिजिनल दुकान है, उसी में सेवक राम एक, सो ज़्यादातर खाने से मैं घर बना लेता हूँ, तो वहाँ पे सेवक राम की एक हलवाई की दुकान है, मिठाई की दुकान है, उस पे समोसे कचौरी जलेबी ये सब मिलता है, बहुत अच्छा। सो दैट फॉर मी इज होम। कैलकटा, कॉर्नर्स ऑफ कैलकटा आर होम, कॉर्नर्स ऑफ बॉम्बे आर होम। So there are these small nooks and corners
of places.
of the world, and not just in India, outside India also there are places which I feel like okay, ये यहाँ पे रुक सकते हैं थोड़ी देर, यहाँ खड़े हो सकते हैं, यहाँ से समुंदर दिख रहा है, या हवा अच्छी आ रही है, या आइसक्रीम अच्छी है, या मिठाई अच्छी है, जलेबी अच्छी है, तो वो घर लगता है। So and then there are people, and then there are theaters inside a cinema theater or
Oh,
inside
yes, me too. Like I feel I relax inside a movie theater.
or
like,
a
I
play,
feel,
you know,
yeah,
watching
yeah,
Prithvi theater feels like
yeah.
home for some reason. I've never been on stage. I'm not a performer, so I don't, you know, that is one.
I mean,
I'm a stand-up comedian,
yeah.
but not an actor.
But I think the ritual is pretty similar.
हाँ, बट मैं
Pre-stage
पृथ्वी
ritual.
जो मुझे ना वहाँ का जो लगता है कि काश मैं कभी स्टेज पे जा सकता और परफॉर्म कर सकता, बट उसके लिए एक और जन्म फिर लेना पड़ेगा कि एक्टर भी बनना है, तो मैंने उन।
पर एक्टिंग की है आपने?
हाँ, वो एक फिल्म में कुछ छोटा मोटा।
But you have a very nice screen presence.
हाँ, that's what I've been told, but I didn't really enjoy the process. For me, it was very stressful because it's something which I feel I'm not a natural. Like I'm a natural at writing, or I'm a natural at stand-up comedy. I can be myself, but being someone else is very stressful for me. If someone tells me, okay, you are just Varun on screen and just be yourself, but वो कितनी बार कर सकते हैं? वो एक दो बार आप कर लेंगे, तीसरी बार फिर
But
just
even when I saw
after the film.
when I saw
Like I don't care. People say, "अरे हर फिल्म में ये तो खुद ही बना हुआ है," which is true for a lot of actors who are successful also.
the good part of acting is that you get into the psychology of these other human beings and you find out so many things about yourself. It must be so boring to play even one character for 10 years.
Yeah.
Unless there is like an arc and then you
Yeah.
reach that goal. But to some people who played like 10, 15 years of the same character must be quite.
Yeah, and then you have to, at some level, I mean, we all are, I think, narcissistic in our own ways. But for me, just being an actor also means then I have to love my voice and my face, at least find it presentable, which I
don't love my face. Let me tell you this.
but-
I'm an actor
so
and
I'm
it's
not,
very difficult for me
saying
to
it's
look
a
into
generalization,
it.
but generally for me it is very uncomfortable than seeing myself on screen afterwards. So वो जो चीज़ मुझे खुद ही लग रहा है कि ये आदमी क्यों है स्क्रीन पे, तो वो मेरे हाथ में है कम से कम कि ये आदमी ना हो स्क्रीन पे, which I can
Oh
do
wow,
on
that
my
is
own.
very hard thing to say.
Yeah, but I just feel that way. People, you know, after Kala, we are talking about Kala, that small role I had in Kala. So I got lots of good feedback, and you know, lots of people said ki this character. But that was also probably because it was a very dark and depressing film, and there was this one person who was not horrible, and that kind of, you know, helped my character in the film being, you know, lovable
And likable.
हाँ, so वो फायदा हो गया, बट आई थिंक उसी फिल्म में अगर मैं कोई और घटिया आदमी का रोल कर रहा होता तो लोग बोलते कि बहुत खराब एक्टर है, तो वो शायद पता चल जाता कि खराब एक्टर है। वो नहीं पता चला क्योंकि लाइंस भी अच्छी थी, कैरेक्टर भी खूबसूरत था।
I think it was my web series and I played a character that was negative, and about the amount of hate I got. Like, she's so bad. And then they also call you a bad actor and you're like, no, but it's phantom pain. You don't like her, that's and I remember, like, even with like The Hard, I got messages like, oh, thank God you're not dead. They actually thought I was dead and I was like, wow, the power of audiovisual or cinema or stories that people forget that it's an actor who and it ends after the credits roll.
Yeah, but that's what ना फिल्म में जब आप देखते हैं किसी किरदार को तो आप you see yourself in every character. And then there are parts of you which like certain things because it resonate with your very core beliefs or core, personality. And then there are parts which you want to avoid and which you don't have sometimes, and sometimes you have but you want to hide. So वो सारे बहुत सारी psychological चीजें चलती हैं actors के साथ, which is a very fascinating thing for me to observe. As an outsider कि actors का क्या relation है audience के साथ, and how just a recognizable face. So for example, one random example, but सड़क पे अभी सरिये का ad है, ठीक है, random सरिये का ad है, उसमें अक्षय कुमार खड़ा है सरिया लेके. Like who is going to believe कि अक्षय कुमार अपने घर में ये वाला सरिया लगाता है इसलिए हमको ये लेना है. So what's the point? What's the connection they are trying to make here for the common people?
But I'm sure there is like focus groups involved जो ये कि हाँ अक्षय कुमार पकड़ेगा तो बिक जाएगा. No,
but
like
so I wanted to understand how this psychology works. और अक्षय कुमार की जगह मैं कह रहा हूँ कि okay, for example, someone like साराभाई में साराभाई वर्सेस साराभाई में जो
सतीशा
बहू थी
रूपाली गांगुली.
हाँ रूपाली गांगुली. Now she is promoting some atta or something, some brand. So then you're like, why is she there in this atta ad or whatever, or anything, maybe a cough syrup or something. So I think how it works is a familiarity. It's not about the bigness of the star. It's just about the familiarity of the face. And there's a emotional connect with the face, just with the face, because of the work they have done. So that works. And then you see, okay, Rupali Ganguly is here, whatever she is promoting. It could be then you can replace the product. There doesn't need to be a match with the person and the product they are promoting. Like Akshay Kumar and Sarya is not a real match, right? Or Sachin Tendulkar and car tires. There's no Sachin Tendulkar and, say...
Energy drink maybe makes sense.
Energy drink, he was, in that Ande ka promotion, Anda khao and all. There was long back, there was Egg Corporation of India ka ad, which kind of makes sense. Or Boost, or anything which is related to energy, fitness, health, whatever, or sport. But Sachin Tendulkar and MRF tires, no connect except the emotional connect with the face. And it could be with any face. And that's why the faces are bigger, I feel, are bigger emotional connect than the performance a lot of times.
But so tell me, like as an actor, there's a part of me that knows that if I become a face, I will get to do more of I'll get to be part of good projects. But I also know that as an actor, if I become a face, it's the most deterring thing that could happen to me, right? Yeah. Because then my need to actually do justice to a character that I'm playing I would lose, it would be a limitation. So why do you think actors even, like, especially in India, because outside you could see a Kate Winslet do a holiday and then she could do the Mayor of Easttown and you would believe, and they are also faces of L'Oreal and, a watch brand. Why do you think it changes here in India and it's not the same there, even though they are brands too, in a way?
Yeah, so I have a theory. I don't know how much of it is correct. But so I think दो फैक्टर हैं और दोनों ही जुड़े हुए हैं. वहाँ के एक्टर्स एक तो खुद को बहुत सीरियसली नहीं लेते हैं एज फेसेस, एज स्टार्स. दे स्टिल हैव दैट थिंग वेयर, सो इफ यू कीप योर, I don't know, energy, center of gravity lower, you can shift easily between characters and between places and people and genres also. एक वो है, और वहाँ मेरे ख्याल से ऑडियंस भी एक्टर्स को उतना सीरियसली नहीं लेती है एज गॉड्स एंड गॉडेसेस. So once you become a god, or once you put someone on a pedestal and that person is also believing in that pedestal's existence, then it becomes a very straight-jacketed kind of a thing where you are not a human being anymore. You're God, and gods have a very limited maneuvering space. Gods can only be this thing and that thing, and all the...
But I agree with you, because just the other day I had a thought and I was like, I mean, I don't know, I might get a lot of hatred for this, but I feel like to be God must be so boring. It is so much more exciting to be a human being.
Yeah.
Because a God is not even experiencing life like a human being is, with all the glory and the joy and the pain and, you know, all of the beauty of being a human being.
Yeah.
And I remember something that Osho said, I don't know if I'm quoting it exact, where he said that, you know, अगर भगवान को प्यास लगेगी तो वो थोड़े ग्लास उठा के पानी पी सकता है, इंसान पी सकता है, you know. So if he's so limited, then I'd rather be a human being than be a god.
Yeah.
So, you know, for those, and just coming back to, you know, your family and your childhood. So people who grow up in families that were displaced, in your case, during partition and other political conflicts, do you think there is like a sense of generational trauma that continues in the family, or sense of generational displacement? Do you think it still
Yeah.
continues? Like,
Yeah.
how did it show it
Absolutely.
in your life? And it doesn't have to be a trauma, but even like a language that the family uses, or a certain behavioral pattern. Because I remember reading this book called Every Family Has a Story by Julia Samuel, and she is a psychotherapist or psychologist who sits with families of Nazi children who were displaced during Holocaust, and traces it back, and it's very interesting. And that's where I realized, okay, it does go on. Like a lot of Jewish children who came from parents who survived the Holocaust still have this very difficult relationship with food in the family, or the
Yeah.
sense of trying to be cautious all the time and mistrusting of neighbors. How does it show? How did it show in your family?
Yeah, it did always. So I think, and it's a thing with a lot of Indian families because of, I think, uh, the constant trauma of the last few hundred years, I would say, and especially the previous 300 years with British kind of squeezing everything out of India,
Yeah,
and
yeah, the
lots of
famines and everything.
famines
Yeah,
and lots of horrible mismanagement and exploitation and all. But especially North India, where people, Punjabis who moved during partition, even after being exploited for so many years, then so वो एक scarcity mindset हो जाता है, which
बहुत
was
है
very
नॉर्थ में
prevalent
बहुत
in
हाँ.
our family also. So constantly people, even if they have money to buy stuff, or even if they have food to to cook a proper meal, they'll always, like, घी का
That is
डब्बा
so
अगर भरा
true.
हुआ है तो वो थोड़ा ही डालेंगे, even if they want more, but they'll be like नहीं अभी बचा ले. So that saving for a later day,
Also
that mindset.
hoarding, like
Yeah,
clinical
hoarding.
hoarding. Oh my
Yeah,
God, my
and
mother is
then
a hoarder.
something which I've noticed a lot in North India is when elders in the family, someone, hits that age of 70 plus, and then they sometimes when they have dementia, uh, they are constantly worried about कि हमारा पैसा कहाँ है. So my nani, when she did not recognize anyone in the family, she had completely forgotten everyone. She just remembered one thing कि मेरा एक बैग है, जो उनका अपना बैग है. दिन में वो 4 बार उसमें निकाल के पैसे गिनती थी कि मेरे ये पैसे मेरे पास हैं कि नहीं हैं, कहीं कोई उठा के ना ले जाए. So घर में भी when she is moving around, she is moving with her purse or with her bag and all. So it's the mindset which probably came because she
Because of that.
moved during partition. So it's the hoarding as well as the fear that someone will take away your belongings, take away your money और कपड़े जो
Resources.
छोटे मोटे उनके 4-5 कपड़े जो एक सूटकेस में आ जाते थे, वो भी वो दिन में 4 बार वो चेक कर रही हैं, वही लेके वो सो रही हैं अपने बगल में. So that which I've seen in other Punjabi
Yes,
nan-dadis.
even in UP, like in non-Punjabi families also, and I
Yeah.
think it is because of the 350 years of the British colonial rule,
Yeah.
and before that, a
Yeah.
lot of just conquests from
Yeah.
other invaders.
Yeah, we are also constantly thinking how much we are spending, which is a good thing generally in life, that you have to be cautious how you spend your money. But there is that mindset always, even when you don't need to.
Yeah.
And then you later feel कि अच्छा मैंने 50 रुपए के लिए ये चीज़ नहीं ली, या ये नहीं किया, या वो नहीं किया. तो वो थोड़ा सा, I think it is coming from that. That is one. Second, on a more emotional level, I think there is this, which we were talking about, the feeling of not having a home, which just you sometimes, maybe just a theory, but you feel that being too attached to anything is going to result in pain. So you keep that distance with places, with people. You never get too attached. You're always ready to detach and always ready to run away.
Does it show? Do you also?
Yeah, yeah. In So I have many, many close friends, and still I feel there is, there's that distance I have kept where I'm not going to be super hurt if they leave. So there is that subconscious thing, which I think is kind of probably because of the generational trauma or not.
How was your childhood?
So childhood was typical normal North Indian middle class childhood at home, but outside, because I was an obese kid, and so major bullying, बहुत ज़्यादा bullying, और जितनी bullying होती थी उससे भी ज़्यादा मुझे feel होती थी because probably I was too sensitive at that time, and
Do you have a memory of a bullying and how you were
yeah,
processing at that
a
time?
lot of them. So
Tell me
one,
one
I was
story.
constantly. So what I feel, abhi bhi, if I look at myself on screen and I cringe because I have serious body image issues. I don't like myself because I was constantly told that I'm not likable in school by kids, even by friends. So my close friends in school, so-called close friends, even they had nicknamed me Mota. So they'll call me Motu, Oi Motu, Idara, Oi Motu, or Oi Mota, or Mote, whatever. So, which they probably didn't understand that it's hurting me, and I didn't have the courage to tell them that it's not the right way to call someone.
Also, I think you didn't have the emotional regulation to tell them that. You probably
Yeah,
even believe
plus,
that
yeah.
probably they're right.
No, also I feared that I might lose them also. Like there are
Okay.
these three people who are talking to me and who are allowing me to sit with them and talk to them and all. And even if I tell them like to make some boundaries and all, then I'll lose them also. That was one thing. Dusra, because I was constantly uh, watching lots of sport. So I wanted to be a sports person as a kid. I really love sport. और मैंने मेहनत भी काफ़ी की, लाइक क्रिकेट में, लेकिन मुझे कभी खिलाते नहीं थे, टीम में कभी नहीं लेते थे, बिकॉज वो अगेन द ह्यूमिलिएटिंग पार्ट इज the two captains one by one select players. So if there are 20 kids, they do the toss. So the first who wins the toss makes the first call. तो इसने इसको लिया, फिर उसने उसको लिया, ऐसे करते करते लास्ट में मैं बच जाता था, जिसमें वो दोनों बोलते थे तू ले ले, कोई नहीं, if your team has 11 players and my team has 10, I am okay, but you take him. And then it'll be like that one unwanted thing no one wants, and then I will offer, okay, I'll just umpire and I'll do fielding for both of you. So that was something कि या तो मुझे umpire बना दो या fielding करा दो. I just wanted to be on the field कि मैं fielding करूँगा, and I became a really good fielder because one, I wanted to prove myself. Two, I really put efforts in that. Even then, one day, I think, so there was a bigger match between like our school and another team, and they were short on players, and I said कि मैं खेल लूँगा. And so then some senior guy, he, for some reason, I don't remember what happened, but he pushed me and he threw me on the ground and uh, whatever, abused me or something, saying कि तू खेलेगा चल निकल यहाँ से and all. So
Well, how did that make you feel then?
so that made me feel, one, very unwanted, two, very uh, incomplete in a way, that I am at fault in some way, that I am wrong in some ways. that I deserve it kind of a feel because I was.
Also, that I don't matter and I don't
हाँ तो
belong.
फिर मेरे लिए वो इट डिड टू थिंग्स इट डिड वन आई बैडली वांटेड टू बी पार्ट ऑफ अ ग्रुप एनी ग्रुप बिकॉज दैट काइंड ऑफ वन गेव मी सेंस ऑफ सेफ्टी कि अच्छा मैं इनके साथ हूँ दूसरा जस्ट अपोजिंग रिएक्शन वाज दैट आई वांटेड टू बी पार्ट ऑफ नो ग्रुप आई वांटेड टू बी अलोन बिकॉज I kind of hated everyone. I was like, no one is really good to me, even friends. So there was that thing which I then strived to be that everyone should want me in their group and I'll join no group, which was the ideal dream in my head कि मैं उस लायक बनूंगा कि सब मुझे बुलाएं और मैं किसी के साथ नहीं जाऊं and then I walk alone kind of a thing. So I was
So is
kind of
that why Varun Grover today?
that is why I'm doing multiple things. That is part of the reason I feel that I want to do everything and want to probably compensate for that lost childhood where I was not part of any group and I was not allowed to do what I wanted to do. Uh, and even if today someone says, okay, you can like go back to being a sports person in any sport on a decent level. Not like I'm not saying मुझे Indian cricket team में होना है, but say if I could make my life playing just table tennis or swimming or anything,
You
cricket,
would give
lawn
it all
tennis,
up.
I'll give it all
You
up.
know, it's funny because, of course, through your songs and through your writing and through your everything, there is like a very emotionally regulated way you express. But every time you express yourself through sport, there is so much more emotion, which is like, oh, okay, there's this side to Varun as well. Like raw emotions निकलते हैं आपके sports
हाँ
के
वो
लिए बहुत.
स्पोर्ट्स के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा है मैंने मतलब बचपन से दिस इज 1992 93 probably I was 12 or 13 I was obsessed with NBA like at that time जब केबल आया ही था इंडिया में और हमारे घर
Star
में
Sports.
हाँ सुबह सुबह आता था लाइक लाइव फ्रॉम अमेरिका जो उनका रात का टाइम होता था और सुबह 8 बजे तो स्कूल जाने से पहले हम लोग सुबह ही 7:30 बजे चला लेते थे और एक मैच तो पूरा एनबीए का देखते थे
How was your relationship with your parents around this time when you were like feeling so unbelonged and unwanted and, you know,
we'll skip this
wanting.
question.
Okay, we'll skip this question. Okay. You know, as children, and let's say when you're 7, 8 years old, and you think that, at least for me, that you think of fantasies and monsters and, you know, ghosts out there. How were you processing the world at that age?
तो बचपन में तो मुझे कुछ नहीं पता था मतलब आई वाज सो प्रोटेक्टेड इन दैट काइंड ऑफ शील्डेड एनवायरनमेंट दैट इवन सो जो मैंने बोला स्कूल में बुलिंग होती थी और घर पे आई वाज इन अ वेरी वेरी प्रोटेक्टेड काइंड ऑफ एन एनवायरनमेंट एंड वेरी डिल्यूजनल मे बी इन सम वेज दैट आई बिलीव्ड कि ये शायद ये हिस्सा खराब है दुनिया का और बाहर बहुत अच्छा होगा जहाँ भी होगा बड़े होंगे तो सो आई वाज ऑलवेज होपफुल अबाउट द वर्ल्ड I was always plus because of this whole having no friends and I was into a world of books. तो मैं पढ़ता बहुत था तो किताबों से मुझे काफ़ी अच्छी दुनिया दिखती थी और मुझे लगता था कि हाँ ये दुनिया है आई एक्चुअली सो व्हेन आई रेड फॉर एग्जांपल रॉबिन्सन क्रूसो and so this man who gets lost
Yeah.
in the sea and then lands up in an island where he meets a man Friday and waits for many years, lives his life for many years on that island before he's kind of rescued. Rescued is also I don't know, is a value judgment. I don't know if he was rescued or captured finally, and he had to leave that island. But for me, that was the ideal world. That was something I wanted to be. I wanted to grow up, get on a ship, get lost on the
Escape
sea,
and go to a world where no
go
one
to an
knows you and
island,
you can
and
restart.
yeah, find a living, create a living on an island where no one else is living. So वो मेरा आइडियल एक सिनारियो था और मैं उसमें बहुत खुश था कि
Hated
ये होगा
people. You
किसी दिन.
hated people. You're like
हाँ, plus I wanted that. So yeah, so it was
solitude.
a mix of
Solid wanting to be.
needing solitary living, needing sense of adventure, uh, showing whatever middle finger to the world कि I don't need you. And also I think, yeah, be part of some grand story. So वो जो sense था, because the way the novel was written, and later I found out it was based on some real incident and all, of course, fictionalized to great extent. But I really believed ये सच है, ये हुआ है,
Yeah.
somewhat.
You seem like a very sensitive person, and you know, in the north where I've grown up, emotional person, sensitive person is considered a weak person. It's often shut down. It's also considered irrelevant. How did you navigate your sensitivity then, and what do you know today about embracing your sensitivity that you did not know when you were young?
Lovely question. The advantage of growing up in North India is that yes, you are unaware, but uh, people around you are even less aware than you. So you kind of find a way to deal with it. तो एक तो वो था कि हाँ ठीक है, मैं बहुत सेंसिटिव था, लेकिन मेरे आसपास के लोगों को पता ही नहीं था कि सेंसिटिविटी क्या होती है. सो दे प्रॉब्ली मिस्ड दैट आई एम सेंसिटिव. दे जस्ट bracketed me into this fat kid. So that was the only thing. So maybe they thought कि हाँ ये परेशान हो रहा है क्योंकि ये मोटा है. They didn't understand that there is a part of me that is sensitive. There is a part of me, my body, which is obese. So ये दोनों दो अलग चीजें हैं. So they kind of, I think, saw it that way. But what I wish I knew at that time was not to hide it from myself. I was hiding it from the world, but I was hiding it from myself also. Like, so I won't even cry alone in a room, right? Because I kind of probably was ashamed of it or wanted to keep it so hidden inside that no one else could see if I can't see, kind of a thing. So,
And today you embrace it.
Today I'm very, very happy to, to call myself a sensitive person, or to show my emotions in public, to show my emotions on a film set also where you are supposed to be. So in the film I recently directed All India Rank. Generally there's a sense that the director has to be the most, whatever, emotionally stable person on the sets, and, being very
So
clear
did
and
you?
powerful and all that.
Yeah, and like
So,
macho and the alpha male.
yeah,
with
but
like,
I was the one who was crying the most on the sets.
But you see that in All India Rank. You see the sensitivity of you expressed through All India Rank, even though it is a can be a very hard film in the sense of, it has its own darkness to it, but there is empathy all the time there. Were you funny as a kid? Was it an overcompensation for the crying that you didn't want to do?
At some point. So, no, initially I was not. Initially I was just
Melancholic.
traumatized, kind of a thing. And then I saw that film, Raj Kapoor ki Mera Naam Joker. And Rishi Kapoor, the young Raj Kapoor in the film, he is obese and he's bullied. So I saw myself in the film. And then I saw how he dealt with it by being funny, by being a joker. And that was when I decided that I can be funny and I can
Fit in, yeah.
Yeah, just by being, so that to cut the bullying, I have to kind of bully myself in a way where self-deprecating humor and all, so that take the sting out of what they are doing. And
Take
so,
the power back.
yeah.
And also humor disarms people.
Yeah, and then I started initially making jokes on myself and, being very self-deprecating, and slowly I started giving it back. That was the first clue how to live life with this situation.
Varun, why art?
दुनिया बहुत कंफ्यूजिंग है, बहुत ही कंफ्यूजिंग है, और बहुत ही अनफेयर भी है, बहुत बिकॉज केओटिक है. कोई भी चीज़ हमारे हाथ में नहीं है. वी आर स्टिल, आई मीन, बिग बिग साइंटिस्ट्स आर स्टिल डिबेटिंग वेदर फ्री विल एग्जिस्ट्स और नॉट. बट आर्ट for a while gives you a sense that you have free will, that you have control over the world, that you can create stuff. You are not dependent on some channel. Like कोई भी चीज़, हम ये पानी पी रहे हैं, वी नो ये कहाँ से आया है, ये किसी कंपनी ने कहीं से भरा है, उसको रिफाइन किया है, उसको बॉटल में डाला है, या हमारे घर में जो पानी आता है, या कोई भी चीज़, एवरीथिंग अराउंड द वर्ल्ड देयर इज अ डिटर्मिनिस्टिक channel through which it comes. And then you feel, on a very, very psychological level, you feel you are part of a puppet theater company. You are being run by many, many forces.
Yeah.
And when you see art or when you create art, both just creating art, and I don't think there's much difference between creating art and consuming art. Both make you feel alive in a very different way. They make you feel alive as if you are seeing something which is for the very first time. And that gives you a sense of being in control, having free will, the interpretation you make, having some sort of, I don't know, godly, magical powers. तो एक तो वो है aspect. दूसरा है to make sense of the world, which I was saying initially. To make sense of the world, art keeps our stories, even if in some very abstract forms.
Form of documentation. Art is also a form
Yeah.
of documentation of the times that we live in.
Yeah. We look at cave paintings, for
Yeah.
example. They tell us a lot about the times. But beyond that, it gives us a sense of the continuity of our whatever ancestry, humanity, the continuity of people wanting to express, and people wanting to express so badly when they don't have tools. They had to create tools. When they had no idea what painting is, for example, they had to create painting. So there is a very deep urge, which again connects us to humanity 30,000 years ago, that they didn't have any other urge. They didn't create wheels, but they created painting at that time. तो वो जो
They wanted to
ज़रूरत
tell their story.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to tell their story.
Yeah, so वो बहुत ज़रूरी एक हिस्सा है जो हम अभी मान लेते हैं कि art is, because now art is so easily available and so commodified that we don't see it as a very, very
Responsible act also.
yeah, or a very basic human emotion,
So
very
it has
basic
to be
human
personal.
need.
Do you think art is personal?
Art is personal, but also sometimes I'm not against the commercial art, so to say, which is not personal, which is a bit crafted for a particular audience, because I feel ki, it still serves its purpose. So for me, okay, a Kumar Gandharv bhajan gives me great joy, and very blasphemous, but I'm going to say it, that Himesh Reshamia song also gives me
Yeah,
joy.
I love Aashik
You know,
Banaya
so
Aapne.
तो मुझे लगता है कि okay, there is a difference. Of course, there is a difference in the joy I get out of these two things, very disparate things or very different things.
So
End of
All
the day.
India Rank was a personal film.
Yeah,
Very
very personal, very personal.
So one of the reviews of All India Rank said that the film in its essence explores that equation where the heart and head fit. Have you found that equation yourself?
I don't think I'll find it so easily, and I'm not even seeking that, because I think every day you seek something new, and that's the joy of the journey of being an artist. You try stuff, and then you move on.
So how do you make personal story living in a culture that is so driven by shame?
So driven by shame. Yeah. Okay.
What would you tell to someone who wanted to make a film that was personal?
So I think that's also the power of cinema, or cinema as an art form or as a genre, that you can do multiple things in one story. So you can be personal and you can hide that personal in the form of something, in the form of music sometimes.
Symbolism.
Yeah, so there are so many layers. So, and I feel every film is personal, even if it is something, very, very
Commercial, yeah.
supposedly commercial.
So then, on the point of shame, do you think our country is ready for a deeply personal female film?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah. If I mean, it's just
as a
matter
female?
of getting a chance. Of course. So the forces of the market and the forces of
Society as well, and the culture.
yeah, and the men who control the industry. They won't make it easy for a film like that to happen. But as a society, we are always ready, I think, for everything. It's just that it has to reach people in a certain way through the still playing by the rules of the market. So it is difficult, but I'm saying so it is difficult not because the society is not ready. It is difficult because the people who are running the industry are kind of short sighted, are kind of afraid of experimentation. And for them, anything which is not done is experiment, even if it is something very safe.
You know, like female film, I feel is, I don't think India is even ready for a deeply personal female film, like where how a woman even explores her life or thinks about things, or when girls sit together. Like we still think that a girl film should be, female film should be women going out and drinking and smoking cigarettes and having masturbation. No, there is so much more to how a female experiences. Then I feel like it's because the culture just not ready for that kind of radical, exploration of what a female in India or an Indian female goes through.
So I feel uh, hypothetical question only and hypothetical answer that society is ready. It just needs enough whatever people at the top to either allow it to happen or at least not actively block it if someone is trying. So one example, though I've not seen the film, but Payal Kapadia's film,
Yeah, I can't wait to.
All We Imagine as Light, uh, is uh, is about three women and their desires and their connection with home, and it won like the biggest prize yet for any Indian film in Cannes.
I'm
Lead and
manifesting her being on this show at some point, talking to her. Like, it'd be
yes,
so amazing to talk to her.
yeah, yeah. Did you
She's
reach
so.
out to her?
I mean, this is the assistant cinematographer of All We Imagine as Light sitting
Oh,
here.
wow.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Okay.
Okay, so you're a very perceptive human being with an exceptionally original mind. Your writings are personal, observational. Tell me, when did critical thinking begin? Because we don't come from such societies and where you think for yourself. Was it the fact that you spent so much time alone as a child where you started forming your own idea about the world?
I think because at my home, my father is not a believer, so to say, in religion. So we were always given that chance to question things, me and my younger brother. And that scientific temperament, because again, we read a lot of science based books as kids.
Wow.
And that's something we kind of, I think both me and my brother kind of figured on our own that, the real whatever joy of life is in questioning things rather than taking them lying down, whatever someone says. And then again, because the bullying also is kind of an authority. So you start
Yeah,
questioning
questioning
authority,
it.
and then you feel that all authority is
It
bad
has to be
in a way,
questioned,
or at least be
absolutely.
questioned. Yeah.
So, if I met the 21-year-old Varun, who would I have met?
That transition phase, I would say, where I was coming out of that bullying, finding my own space in college. So when I went to college in Banaras, now IIT, BHU, so I did my civil engineering there. So I went there in 1992. So 1999 to 2003, basically that 4 year BTech. And once I reached college, one, I was free of the previous circle of
Life or
friends.
previous life that you had, and
Yeah,
you can
and
you could
yeah, I
restart the
could
narrative.
kind of restart. And also, luckily, I got the chance to work on my health in a way where I was cycling a lot daily. So slowly, I kind of lost some weight and felt more confident in my skin. So those things. So at 21, I was in that transition phase where I started finding some confidence in me that okay, I can probably, I'm not going to forever be a prisoner of whatever this.
So, do you feel in your body like a thin person or a fat person?
I think like a fat person.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I still when I so signal पे ऑटो रुकता है और बगल में कोई ऑटो में there's someone really slim sitting. I look at them and go, wow, I wish I was like that, and then I realized, okay, I'm probably like them
Yes.
only at this point. But in my head, I'm still a fat person, and I'm still, trying to constantly. I'm afraid of overeating or something like that, or those kind of things. Or if someday I feel tired by just walking, then I feel, no, this is not me. I have to walk a lot daily. I have to, whatever, do some kind of physical exercise daily. Otherwise, I feel like I'm afraid that I'll again become obese, which, yeah, I mean, which is a constant fear in my mind, though I have not been obese now for 20 years.
I mean, when I met you around 10 years ago, you were a really, really thin person.
Yeah. In fact, yeah. So in like probably 10 years ago, or yeah, I was really underweight
Yeah,
in a
you were
way, actually.
underweight. You were
Yeah,
underweight.
at some point. Now I'm the BMI के हिसाब से now I'm exactly the weight I should be at this point, but still I'm always afraid.
So, three writers, or two writers, or a writer that has influenced you the most, and why?
Oh, there are lots,
Okay, just
actually.
that's why.
So
That's why
many
I
of
was
them.
like, okay, let's find one note.
So many of them. One, I would say, Arundhati Roy.
Wow.
She is really the first proper adult novel that blew me away was The
The
God
God
of
of
Small
Small
Things.
Things. Yeah.
And that's a novel I've revisited so many times,
Yeah.
and the metaphors in that novel, the sensitivity, the anger, the emotional connections between characters is so beautiful. I think I read it in the first year of college, and I was like, okay, you can be so powerful as a writer. That's how I kind of processed it. Okay, being a writer is so cool that you can create a world which, and at that time, I had not been away from North India kahin bhi. Oh, and it's set in Kerala, and also I could see the world. I could
Oh
see,
yeah, yeah. I
feel the
remember
characters
the
and all.
feeling of Kerala when I was
Yeah,
reading The
and
God of
then
Small
after
Things.
that, I've been reading everything she has written, mostly non-fiction only, and she is one of the most intellectual and brilliant prose-wise writer I know.
What do you do when you have self-doubt?
There's no
Away.
solution to self-doubt, actually. I mean, I just kind of wait it out because nothing helps in those moments.
But what
And
did you want to tell someone who was going through self-doubt? If there was a
uh,
writer or an actor, what would you tell them to? Because it can be like an abyss, like, and you
yeah.
can get stuck in that for.
या सो मैं क्या करता हूँ जनरली मुझे सेल्फ डाउट स्टैंड अप के पहले ही आता है राइटिंग में नहीं आता है बिकॉज आई नो कि आई जस्ट नीड इनफ टाइम समटाइम्स मे बी जस्ट मैं चार चीज़ें पढ़ लूँगा तो इट हेल्प्स मी रीडिंग हेल्प्स मी अलॉट वाइल राइटिंग so if I'm stuck somewhere, generally I don't have self-doubt, but even if I have a hint of it, I read something good. I read something
To
which is
inspire you
inspiring.
to
Yeah,
like go to a
which just
museum,
opens
like
my,
go
yeah.
watch the masters, read the
Yeah,
books,
or walk. So these are the
walking,
two things.
yes.
Walking and reading help me a lot. And the second thing I was going to say is when I do stand up and वहाँ मुझे सबसे ज़्यादा self doubt होता है. हर बार stage पे जाने से पहले I'm like I'm going to bomb today. I'm going to be a very bad performer. None of my jokes are going to land, and people will probably be wondering, हम इतने पैसे देके क्यों आए हैं देखने. So that is something which I always feel going on stage. Unless I'm doing a string of shows every weekend, if I take a 1 month break, I'm full of self doubt. And the only way to get out of it is be on stage, and within first 5 minutes, it goes away.
So now that you're a director, what is the thing that you look for in actors, or what do you think actors should have, according to you?
Emotional depth in real life. In real life, if they have lived a life, if they've understood that life, if they have given thought to just the things around them, observant but emotionally sensitive and aware and all, very self-aware. Those are the actors I found it easy to work with them because you don't have to direct them then. They read stuff, they discuss, and there's lots of discussion.
And they also bring their own lived experience into the character.
Yeah.
That's
If
why
you have
you
lived
hire a
life,
professional collaborator. You want them to come with their own life journey and bring that into the character. Do you think mentorship matters?
I've never had a mentor.
Never?
Never. So that's something. I mean, the closest I've had
To a mentor?
to a mentor, sorry, is Anurag Kashyap in the initial days, which again, in a way, is basically he gave me the opportunity to do what I wanted to do, and that's all.
Do you think mentorship matters though?
I think it does matter to a lot of people, but for me, again, because I came from that idea of childhood, ki I will never be part of a group. I'll walk alone, and I'll never let anyone dictate.
But mentorship doesn't have to be hierarchical, right? I feel like mentorship matters so much, and also we come from a culture जहाँ गुरु शिष्य प्रथा ज़्यादा है, और mentorship without controlling and without authority is not so much.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people who have had good mentors. Just that, for me it was probably too difficult.
So coming back to, just because you call Anurag Kashyap your mentor, and it reminded me of something. When he had made Kennedy, I think, or some other film where you had written him a mail saying you don't have to be so nihilistic. Even if you are nihilistic, your story shouldn't be. What do you mean by that?
So, Kennedy के बाद ही मैंने जब edit पे देखी थी. After that, he kind of, I think, changed a bit of edit. It was a longish cut. He showed it to me. So I feel in that film's case and in Anurag Kashyap's case, what was happening was his anger with the world or with whatever, किसी भी filmmaker का रॉ इमोशन आना जरूरी है, लेकिन वो रॉ इमोशन के साथ साथ उस इमोशन की अंडरस्टैंडिंग आना जरूरी है कि ये क्यों है, ये गुस्सा क्यों आ रहा है, फिल्म में इस किरदार को गुस्सा आ रहा है तो क्यों आ रहा है. सिर्फ गुस्सा आना है एक किरदार को, और देन यू आर लीविंग द ऑडियंस इन अ बिट ऑफ अ confusion. You should not be confused about at least the central characters. If they are gray, then you should know the reasoning for both the shades. So that was something which I wrote to him, that being nihilistic is okay, but then I need to see the reasoning behind it also. And it should not be that you are putting your anger in the character, but not putting the reasoning of your anger into the character. That was something which was happening in the previous cut. All characters in the film are okay. All the characters, no matter how horrible they are as people in a film, I'm okay with seeing whatever, all kinds of horrible things on screen. But then there has to be a
why to it.
Some justification.
And redemptiveness to why he is doing that.
Yeah, if there is no glorification, like out and out glorification, like we have seen in some films. And then you are basically, which is a similar case where you are a horrible person, your central character is a horrible person, and you're not giving a reason why that person is a horrible person, then you are hiding something. You're not telling why
and
you are.
I think as a filmmaker, I feel that you don't want to confront that bit in you. That's why your character is not confronting that bit, right?
Yeah. And that way, I mean, filmmaking or any art is actually putting a part of you.
Absolutely.
A projection of some sorts. Then if you are projecting and people are taking it as projection, people are seeing it as an image of you or as a confessional piece, then you can't cheat. People come with trust. People come with trust, okay, this is what this person was feeling, but then you are saying, okay, see only this part and that part I'm hiding because either you are not aware of it or you are cheating, manipulating.
I feel like for the kind of person he is, I don't think he's cheating. I think it's because he hasn't processed it himself. Is what my very humble understanding.
I was not talking about Anurag
here.
But
I was talking about
general
filmmaking.
Other famous filmmakers who will leave a comment on this YouTube video if he sees this conversation and
that
he'll
would be like,
तुम कौन हो, तुमने क्या किया है, तुम तो वहाँ कॉफी पीते हुए ये सब बात कर रहे थे, तुमने किया क्या?
Okay, next question. If you could invite 5 of your favorite artists, living living or dead, for dinner and conversations, who would those 5 people be and what would you talk about?
Oh wow, ये बहुत मजेदार है. 5 people. One, definitely Arundhati Roy, I would say. Second, Mirza Ghalib. Uh, सबसे पहला और सबसे बड़ा इन्फ्लुएंस मेरी लाइफ में एज एन आर्टिस्ट, मतलब जो जिनको मैंने फॉलो करना शुरू किया, वो मिर्जा गालिब. एज अ किड, probably 7, 8 years old I was at that time, and the TV show came, and then I was blown away by the depth and the metaphors and the overall, the worldview Mirza Ghalib had. Third person, I would say Charlie Kaufman, the writer.
Wow, okay.
One of my biggest influences as a writer in cinema is Charlie Kaufman. Then I would say Amrita Pritam.
Oh, wow.
Again, another poet, someone who has written some of the most beautiful poetry and the most sensitive and the most candid poetry. The artist who probably taught me to be fearless in expressing yourself and don't worry about how people will judge you, or So वो चौथी हो गई अमृता प्रीतम. पांचवा एक ही स्लॉट बचा है, तो
और 4 लोग भी चलेंगे.
नहीं, मैं भर लूंगा, मेरे पास है. जब जगह है तो क्यों खाली
एक कुर्सी क्यों खाली रहे?
हाँ, कितना अच्छा होगा. और एक और आई वुड से देन फिफ्थ पर्सन, अनदर पोएट, जावेद अख्तर. He's like the most, I would say, most brilliant, funniest person I know. Like someone who knows how to start a conversation, how to make it fun, how to ask. So I'll probably have Javed Saab there to ask questions to all these people.
To moderate
and
the
I'll
whole
just be,
table.
I'll just be recording it, because Javed साहब जो सवाल पूछेंगे और जो उनका सेंस ऑफ ह्यूमर है और जो उनकी शायरी है और जो उनके ख्याल हैं और जो उन्होंने लिखा है, ये 5 हैं. उसके अलावा मैं एक्चुअली, ये बहुत सुंदर सवाल है, तो मैं और बहुत सारे नाम जोड़ सकता हूँ. But
you can text me if you think Sagmitra, this person also, this
but
person
ये हो
also.
सकता है कि मिर्जा गालिब बोले कि मैं चार्ली कॉफमैन के साथ नहीं बैठूंगा, या चार्ली कॉफमैन बोले कि ये बाकी सारे
I don't think
हिंदी
Charlie
उर्दू पंजाबी वाले हैं,
would
भाई
say
ये क्या हो रहा है.
no, I don't think he would. He doesn't seem like that kind of a
Yeah, but if not Charlie Kaufman, then I would actually get Shiv Kumar Batalvi there.
Ooh,
So another
wow.
of my favorite poets.
God, yeah, very beautiful.
So हाँ, तो छह लोग कर सकते हैं. So yeah.
Next question. What do you think gives meaning to life?
Everything, actually. Everything. I mean, life is just a series of meaningless, meaningful things. And everything adds to it. Everything. As someone said, if someone asks you to put down 10 of your best days and 10 of your worst days on paper, you'll probably, after point number 6, you'll be like, aur kya tha? In both the lists.
Yeah.
And so most of the life is meaningless, so to say.
Yeah, you just create your own meaning to it.
Yeah, you are just, like, for example, I mean, we care so much, or I care so much about food, and I'm very, very careful कि अब मैं क्या खाऊंगा, अच्छा शाम को क्या खाऊंगा, कल सुबह क्या खाऊंगा. For me, the excitement of going to sleep is कि फिर कल सुबह होगी और फिर मैं कल नाश्ता बनाऊंगा और कुछ एक एक्साइटिंग नया नाश्ता होगा. तो बट अभी याद नहीं है मुझे 4 दिन पहले मैंने क्या खाया था नाश्ते में. So most of the life, so to say, is meaningless, but that is life. That is the actual life. These are the high points and low points which you kind of create as landmarks and all.
What would you do if you couldn't fail?
Okay.
Or what would you do even if you failed?
That I'm doing.
That you're doing. Oh wow, Yeah. So you don't have fear of failure? Is that what you're saying?
Most of the times, no. I don't. I
want to reach that. I think I am there, but yeah.
Yeah, no, most of the times I don't fear failure because, again, as I said, for me, life is too special a thing. So just being alive and being able to do stuff is enough, is good enough, is joy enough, is privilege enough. What would I do if I couldn't fail? Like, absolutely, like someone promises me, okay, then I will probably sing.
Sing.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is
wow.
something which I just.
Although I do feel that when I've seen videos of the BTS of Gangs of Wasipur, I always associate you with being a musician.
हाँ, वो
Like
भी again some compensation for trying to
wanting
overcompensate
to.
for not being a musician. Yeah.
So if you met your 21-year-old self today, what would you tell him?
Meet more people probably in life generally. I'm very afraid of meeting people and like uh, because I'm afraid of whatever that thing of being judged for how I look, how I speak, how I uh, behave in a way. तो वो एक डर हमेशा से रहा. So even after getting kind of so to say accepted in college as someone who can be friends with people, I kept it very
To yourself,
closed,
you're close.
the circle. So
You tell him to meet more people.
हाँ, so मतलब that is something which I kind of feel कि now I have become that person who actually doesn't like meeting many people. But there's a part
I
of me
already
that
feel quite like privileged by that. When
नहीं,
you
but
have taken out time to meet me, which is like, oh my God.
no, yeah, because you said it's going to be a different kind of interview or different
I
kind of
hope it was
conversation.
so.
So yeah, it was not at all about which I'm kind of fed up of now कि अच्छा वो पहला गाना कैसे लिखा, फिर पहला काम कब मिला, फिर बॉम्बे कैसे आ गए, सॉफ्टवेयर छोड़ के. So those kind of questions I've answered so many times and I'm bored myself of answering those kind of questions, and this was going to be more of a conversation which was really exciting for me to talk about just the world and think.
So the last question, I mean, there are more, but anyways, are you a rationalist or a romantic?
Aspiring, so there I think we all have two selves. One is the aspirational self, one is
Yeah.
the real self,
Self,
more like
yeah.
you aspire to be a person. So I aspire to be a romantic person, but I'm a rationalist
What are you
person.
saying? Your songs, your poetry is like
That is why
the
it comes in
speaking of
my
it. Okay.
art, where I aspire to be that person, but I'm a very rationalist kind of a person. I'm more, scientific minded all the time. I understand that emotions are
Don't say a waste of time, please.
नो
Okay.
जस्ट वो जो गालिब के
Yeah.
शब्दों में दिमाग का खलल है. So it's an aberration of the mind. It's just like humanity in
Yeah.
itself, as many scientists have proved now that we are uh, a result of gene mutation or a wrong copy of gene. So like a gene is getting copied and there's an error in copying,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
from
Like a
chimps,
mutation.
चिम्प्स ही होना था हमको और वहाँ से हम इंसान बन गए. सो वो गलती हो गई जीन कॉपी में. तो वो गलती का हम लोग रिजल्ट हैं. तो उसी तरह से सारे इमोशन जो हैं वो मुझे पता है कि दे आर नॉट सपोज टू बी देयर. दे आर
We
दिमाग
are
का
human
खलल.
beings. We will always move through emotions. We are
Yeah,
emotional
but
beings,
we are
and that's what
not.
makes us so different from, and that we can process our emotions in such a nuanced way.
Yeah, and that's what I aspire to be,
Such
I'm
a
saying. But
superpower.
it's
Oh
also
yeah.
the rational part of me is stronger than the romantic part.
Got it.
And that's also a reason why I'm not very easy to get swayed by optimism or pessimism. For me,
Yeah, yeah.
both
You
are.
do come across as a stoic. That
Yeah,
that
so
I've
that is
realized.
something because science tells us that everything is kind of
Insentient and
yeah
just is. Yeah.
deterministic, and so you have to be constantly be in some kind of balance.
What would your ideal day be like 10 years from now?
uh, Even now it's the same probably. Ideal day: get up, have a good breakfast, like a fulfilling happy breakfast, read some, write some, play with my cats, and in the evening watch a good film or a good show or something or a good documentary. Listen to some good music. तो यही चार पांच चीजें हैं, इन्हीं के बीच में इन्हीं का कोई
Somehow,
भी combination हो
probably
जाता है.
apart from your partner, no other human beings is involved in this in an ideal day in your life.
Yeah.
I know human beings are sometimes irredeemable, but there are.
बिल्कुल. But it's always, I mean, a recipe of not disaster, but yeah, you are inviting a variable which is not easily in your control, and that is human beings. All other, like food can't hurt you, music can't hurt you, cinema can't hurt you, writing can never hurt you. Humans can hurt you, and I'm not saying that's a generalization in my mind, but it's something which, in an ideal day, I would actually want to be away from them.
Varun, I hope you keep feeling alive and inspired and more romantic and give more love to human beings. And you keep finding the truth. And I hope you do, in a way, find it. Thank you
Yes.
for doing this, and thank you for being part
There's
of
no
the real
truth,
story.
but yeah, I'll try
Yeah,
finding
that's
it.
what
So
like
that's the joy
I hope you keep
of
finding
knowing
it.
also there's no truth, and
Yeah.
then still chasing it, and then finding it in that moment, and then knowing, okay, it was truth of that
It's
moment.
always elusive. Like,
There's a truth of every moment, but that moment is a fleeting moment. So truth goes with the moment, and then you have to again find a new one. But yeah, thank you. It was
Thank you for
lovely.
doing
It
this,
was
really. Yeah, thank you.
super fun and
Yeah.
very emotional also in some ways. So thank you.